Okay, mommies, thank you for joining in. We are just waiting for our expert to join in. Hi, Deepti. Hi, Paki. Thank you for joining in. Hi, Rupali. So just give me 2 minutes. We are waiting for our expert to join in. Namaste, Dr. Rishikesh Pai. There he is. So I have just sent the request. Let our guest accept the request and we'll start with our show. There he
Hi,
is.
hello,
Yeah. Hi,
hi,
sir. Very good evening.
hello, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much. So I request all the mommies to give us a thumbs up if our video and audio, everything is clear. So as Mr. Pai is there, let's start our show for today's evening. When the world says give up, the hope says try one more time. With this positive thought in our hearts, let's begin our evening with our expert. Okay, everything is clear, right? So let's begin our evening for today's evening with our expert. To introduce him, he is the master, the innovator, the pioneer. In the medical world, when it comes to fertility treatments, he is the first doctor in India to introduce the technique of spindle view, to introduce the technique of assisted laser hatching, to introduce the technique of ovarian tissue freezing, to introduce the technique of oocyte freezing, to introduce the technique of freezing embryo with vertification. Not only this, he is the first doctor in Asia to introduce time-lapse incubator called as embryoscope in 2012. So it's an absolute honor for us, sir, to have you on our platform today.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm really, I appreciate that. And I'm there to answer any of your questions.
Definitely, sir. So a warm welcome to Dr. Rishikesh Pai, Dr. Director at Bloom IVF and one of India's top IVF specialists from Mumbai. He is there with us with a very special topic, baby planning and the way forward with IVF. It's a very common saying, nothing can be changed until faced. So as we all know in the current time, the topic fertility and ovulation is something which everyone around is facing. So I would request you, sir, please tell us more about these two words. What exactly fertility means and what does the ovulation means?
So, no, fertility means, the ability to achieve pregnancy. So, normally, if you have, like, if 10 couples get married in every month, one of them will achieve a pregnancy on their own. And in a year's time, nearly 90% of them will become pregnant. One of them will not achieve pregnancy. So that 10% of couples are called infertile couples. So if you try for 1 year and you still don't achieve pregnancy by the natural method, it is known as infertility. So 90% are fertile, 10% are infertile. So overall, the fertility status in our world is very good because perpetuation is very important for the human species. The ability to conceive and to procreate is a
Right.
very important in all the species that perpetuation is there. And so also the humans are quite efficient. In 1 year time, 90% of them achieve pregnancy. Only
Okay.
some of them don't achieve pregnancy. So normally, how does a pregnancy get achieved? So in a woman, after she reaches the age of menarche, that is around 10, 12 years time, when she starts menstruating on her own. So what happens is the ovary gets activated, and every month 500 eggs in the ovary start developing, and one of them becomes dominant at around 14 day after the period, and that ruptures and comes out. At that point in time, if suppose after they get married, the husband has sex at that time, then the sperm and the egg will meet in the fallopian tube. So normally the fertilization of the egg with the sperm takes place in the fallopian tube, and after that the baby is formed, the embryo is formed in the fallopian tube. After
Right.
5 days of that, it comes into the womb and
Okay.
implants. After it implants, in 9 months time it delivers. So this is the process of conception. So you have to, so it's very important that you, fortunately for us, when the man has sex with a woman, the sperm stays alive in the body for 7 days.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so it's okay even if he has sex 3, 4 times in a month, the sperm manages to catch the egg, and most
Right.
of them achieve pregnancy, but some of them don't. So the
Okay.
when the egg comes out, that is called ovulation. So when you have sex during the time of ovulation, the best chance of pregnancy is there. So we have in our the market, we have a lot of these self help tests nowadays. You have got apps also. You have
Yes.
got urine test also, where you can make out when is the ovulation day. Or more traditionally, if you go to the doctor, they'll do a sonography and they will track your follicle. Follicle is a bag of water. Slowly it grows. In each bag, there's a egg. So when the around 20 millimeters, that is 2 centimeters size, the follicle ruptures
Okay.
and the egg comes. So by scanning the sono machine, by using ultrasound machine, you can actually pinpoint the ovulation. So there are various ways of pinpointing it. Traditionally, in the olden days, they used to even do a temperature chart. So what
Right.
happens is after the ovulation, the temperature goes up by 0.5 degrees centigrade. So by making, in the olden days, they used to track the temperature and just, acha, today the temperature has gone up and I am getting some little pain in my tummy. So I must have ovulated. So now I must get my guy to have relation
Right.
with me, sex
Right.
with me on
Right.
that day. So that is how the women is to achieve pregnancy. So some of them, after 1 year of marriage, they still don't become pregnant. That is known as an infertile couple.
Infertile couple. Right. So, so why is it then said that in today's time, why planning pregnancy is so important when it comes to mother's health or the child health?
So no, planning a pregnancy is important because you are nowadays having only few kids. You want them to be healthy.
Right.
So the pre-conception planning, you need to be healthy. The diet should be good. You need to do your blood test to see whether your blood group is negative or positive. If it
Okay.
is negative, then you may have to be given an injection during pregnancy. You must also, nowadays we also do rubella test on the women to see whether she is rubella negative or positive. Most of us are rubella positive,
Okay.
but some of them are rubella negative. In those patients, we give them a vaccine to make them positive. So that is important. Then in our country, thalassemia is a big problem. So, thalassemia and so we need to test the blood for thalassemia. If both of them have thalassemia carriers, then the child may be a thalassemia major. If the child is a thalassemia major, you can lifelong they will need blood transfusion. So we can do antenatal testing. So all these are, so this is the planning. So once you get married, you need to do some tests. You need to do your semen test, your blood AMH. You need to do your rubella. You need to do your blood group. You need to look for thalassemia. So all these tests are important. So
Right.
that's how you plan yourself. So now with the new technologies that are available to us, we can plan a pregnancy.
Definitely.
And then of
Definitely.
course we can plan a pregnancy. You can say nowadays the government has a slogan that once you get married, they are saying that please don't get pregnant for 2 years at least.
Sir, we can't hear you.
These are all things that they are, because they don't want to burden our nation also. So
Right.
planning is very
Very
important. For
important.
in everything in life, you need to plan your child.
Definitely. So as we posted the creative and the topic all around, there are a lot of questions which comes in, which came to us through a lot of mothers. So one by one, I'll be taking all those questions for you.
Yeah,
The
yeah, sure,
first,
sure.
yeah.
Anytime.
So the first question that came up was, Is there any fertility window for men and women?
So the men, there is no window. As I told you that there are two types of windows. One is the age window. So you should become pregnant before the age of 35
Okay.
for women and before the age of 40 for men. Because even in men, after the age of 40, up say let's say after the age of 50, there is a higher incidence of autism in the children in men. And in women, after the age of 35, the incidence of a genetic abnormality increases and the chance of Down baby, which is a mental retardation condition, increases. So normally in women who have children before the age of 35, the incidence is 1 in 2000. After the age of 35, the incidence of Down baby becomes 1 in 200. And after the age of 39, it becomes 1 in 40. So you must try to become pregnant before the age of 35. If you can't, then nowadays we are advocating that you should freeze your eggs.
Right.
So because if you so that if you have a 30, you freeze your eggs. Even if you don't get a proper guy, or you don't get married, or you have a career options, then you can at the age of 39. Once you get married, you can use your frozen eggs which you froze at the age of 30. But those, because they will be young eggs, they will give a better chance of good chance of a good genetically less chance of abnormality in the child. So that's one, age planning. And
Right.
then of course the timing is also important. So as I told you, ovulation occurs around 14 days after the beginning of the period. So when you have your period, you can track your ovulation around, if you have a regular cycle, then around 14 days. So you can have sex on 11 day, 13 day, 15 day, 17 day. Have fun during those days and then have a pregnancy as well.
Right.
So
Right.
that's a timing, or you can be more precise. You can use a urine stick to see when ovulation is occurring, or you can use a temperature chart, or you can use an app also. Nowadays, mobile apps are there, so you can use that as well. So all these things are used to time your pregnancy.
Right. So, as you mentioned about the kits and the testing kits and fertility apps that are available in the market, how much they can be trusted?
Yeah, I mean, see, now there's a lot of self-help. You can There's a group of people who will always go to the doctor. There are certain people who
Right.
will never go to the doctor. There are a lot of internet now. I got my CEO is Miss Ojaswini. She was telling me her brother, he always will go and select a doctor through the internet.
Right.
There are many people will go to the doctor only to the general practitioner. So it's like that. Different people have got different ways in which they approach it. Some people approach it through the net through apps.
Right.
Some people approach it through the GP. Some people will go to the gynae.
Right.
It
Definitely.
ultimately all roads lead to the last destination of having a child. So it doesn't matter.
Absolutely true, sir. So, moving on to the next question, can you please guide our couples? How many kind of fertility treatments are there, and how can a person decide which one is best for them?
So basically now when they come to us and they are infertile, then we do their testing to
Right.
see what is the problem. We always do the testing of the male first, because semen test is a very simple test. Normal semen count is more than, let's say, 15 million. Now the new WHO criteria has come of a count of 14 or 16 million. There's a new just released, but they are more or less mota 15 million count, 40% motility, 4% normal count.
Right.
Or
Right.
if you have that, so it's very easy to do a semen test. If there's a problem in the semen, we can just get the husband treated and that will correct the problem.
Right.
In the women, we do testing. We do some hormone tests, especially thyroid, prolactin, blood sugars, and we also do a new test which is called AMH, anti-Mullerian hormone. So normal AMH is 2 to 3.5. So if that is a 2 to 3.5 nanogram per ml range, you have a good ovarian reserve. But what we have observed nowadays that a lot of women have got a very low AMH, less than 1, 1.2. So I don't know what is the reason. Maybe it's just that we are doing more tests and all. So the low AMH women have to be more aware. So suppose they are already married, they should quickly have children. If they are not married, they should freeze their eggs or get married and have children. So,
Okay.
it's very important. So these are, then we do a ultrasound normally to see if there's any gross problem in the uterus, like there's a fibroid or an adenomyosis, or there's a swelling of the tubes, it's called hydrosalpingo, infection. There may be a blood collection in the ovary, it's called endometriosis. So
Right.
that nowadays we have a 3D ultrasound. In the olden days, there was a 2D ultrasound. Now we have a vaginal 3D, which more or less gives you all information, whether you have
Correct.
got any major problem in your uterus. And finally, we check the tubes by doing an X-ray of the tube. It is called hysterosalpingography, HSG, which will make us know whether the tubes are open or not. Because as I told you, the sperm and the egg meet in the tube. If the tubes are damaged, the sperm and egg can't meet.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
with all these tests and hormone tests, we'll know what is the problem. Is it problem with the husband or the wife? Sometimes there will be a problem in both. And sometimes both of them will be normal. Sometimes we need to do a laparoscopy also, putting a telescope in the tummy. So with this, all this will come to know what is the problem, and then we treat the problem. So in
Right.
70-80% of the people with simple treatments of the problem, or sometimes a laparoscopic surgery or a hysteroscopic surgery, and then we give them medicine to bring about ovulation. And at the time of ovulation, we tell them to have sex, or sometimes we take the sample of the husband, wash it, and best quality sperm we put in the womb. That is called intrauterine insemination. So with this intrauterine insemination, we do it for 3-4 months. So many
Right.
people become pregnant with all these simple treatments. 70% people will achieve pregnancy with these treatments. Only
Okay.
30% don't achieve pregnancy with simple treatments or with IUI, intrauterine insemination. Those need IVF. Or there are certain people who have gross problem, very low count, 2 million count, or the tubes are blocked,
Okay.
or they ovaries have no eggs, so we have to borrow an egg. So these patients we go directly for IVF. But
Right.
majority of patients have minor problems which can be treated by simple treatment, and many of them become pregnant with that simple treatment. But after that, if they fail, they also need to do IVF. So there are
Right.
two groups of people. One who definitively need IVF. The second group who, after a conservative treatment, simple treatment, and they don't become pregnant, so they need IVF. So
Right.
ultimately, but people are under the wrong impression that everyone, अच्छा, infertility and IVF clinic में जाओ ना,
IVF.
ऐसा नहीं. We have to, IVF is a last, it's like cardiac bypass. If you have
Right.
a heart problem, you first go and show the doctor. He will give you treatment, medicine, exercise, diet, lifestyle change. Then he'll do an angiography. Then he'll do an angioplasty, and then he will tell you that okay, now you do need a bypass.
Right.
So IVF is like a bypass.
Exactly.
It's the last step, and we
Last
should
step.
not do it. Take it lightly. They
Right.
people come and say. I remember there was a pilot couple many years back.
Mm-hmm.
He was in Air India. He was in Jet Airways. He was in Air India. They never used to meet. So because they are flying all the time, so they said, "Doctor, please IVF नहीं करना है, आप सीधा IVF करो." So sometimes on demand we do IVF, and they became pregnant also. But that's not the
That's
norm.
a very rare case. Not in normal.
Not the norm.
Not in normal. So we have
But
this
like some people are under pressure. So they come at
right.
the age of 39. They have
Mm-hmm.
not frozen their eggs. They are just married. Husband is 45 and she is 39. Then we don't have time. Then we rush it. Then
Right.
we'll do two,
Right.
three quickly. We'll do 1, 2 quick IUIs, and if that fails, I'll go straight for IVF.
Right.
So
Right.
age also matters. So if a patient is young, 28-year-old, I say, "Arey, cool it now. Go back, try on your own. Okay, let me do
Yes.
some basic test. I'll do a semen test. I'll do an AMH. I'll say, okay,
Right.
your reserve is fine. Your sample is okay. Go and try on your own. Come
Right.
after 1 year because we have the time." But a 39-year-old, we can't say like that. So
Yes.
based on the time of the age of the patient, also we have to plan ourselves.
Right. Right. So we have a mother, Deepika here, and she's asking, what is the role of fibroid? Why does it occur, and what is the impact of fibroid on our fertility?
So now fibroids are the tumors of the womb of the uterus, and they are there. Many people they have fibroid and they still become pregnant. So it's not that fibroid is the cause of pregnancy, but if everything else is ruled out and there are fibroid, then we tend to remove them, especially if they are pushing the uterine cavity. Some of them are protruding into the uterine cavity, which are called submucous fibroids. Some are there in the wall, but they are pushing the cavity.
Okay.
So these are the fibroids. We tend to remove them by laparoscopy or hysteroscopy. And so there are certain fibroids which are outside the cavity on the outer side. Then we leave them alone.
Right.
So fibroids, but then some of them can be symptomatic. They can give pain. They can give heavy bleeding. So fibroid treatment, if they are symptomatic, we take them out, or in infertile couple, if everything else is ruled out, everything is normal. They have been trying for a long time. Fibroids are there, but we say, no, fibroid is not responsible because it's sitting outside. But they have failed. Everything has failed. Then, as a last resort, before we go for IVF, we would take the fibroid out also. And nowadays, we do it by laparoscopy. In
Okay.
India, it's very funny. So many people, many chains and all are there. They come to India. They say, "Arey, we have got a big doctor from America will be coming to India. We have got a big doctor from Middle East." I laugh at them because the entire United States medical fraternity, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Africa, Middle East, everything is run by Indian doctors only.
Right.
So, we don't need any people from abroad to come because Indians have become good at their work. I'm not
Yes,
saying, see,
definitely.
India, but
Definitely.
Indians are good at replication. Once we learn the technique now, then we are very intelligent. We can
Right.
replicate the technique. We are we are also good at invention, but the problem is we don't have the money to do research. For
Yes.
research, you need a lot of money. India is a poor country.
Definitely.
We though the government is allotting, but I always appreciate the government because we see we are it's like a house. We have got only 100 rupees. We are in that 100 rupees. We have to take care of our border also. We have to take care of our healthcare also, our education also. We have to develop our roads also. So we have nearly 400 years of development in front of us. See, the UK and all, they have been developed in 1200. 1200 AD, 800 years back. We are just a young nation. We are 70 years old. So we have very less money. We are poor people. We are developing. We are evolving. So people have to understand that. People say, "Arey, this should be done. That should be done. What is this?" No, where is the money to do it? We have to. We have a fixed amount of money. We have to divide our money. We have to plan ourselves all the time. So,
Definitely. Definitely.
but we have done a lot good for women empowerment. See all the Olympic medals, all that is coming. So, in last 70 years, imagine 2000 years the women have been downtrodden in our country. Within 70 years, we have brought them to such a high level. But you can't do 2000 years.
Comparison.
You can't change in 70 years, na?
Yes. Yes.
It's a change.
Everything takes
So
time. Everything takes time.
right. So, similarly, in our medicine, coming back to our talk, our medicine is we are at top. Our doctors are at excellent, good skill. Hand skill
Definitely.
is tremendous in Indian doctors. All of them. So we
Because
are
you
the
also
number
get a lot
one.
of exposures, a lot of patients come to you because of the population that we have. So definitely the
Yeah.
exposure is more.
But we are also doing quality work. It's not only
Yes.
quantity work. We are also
No,
doing
no, it's also the
innovative work,
quality.
quality work. And the COVID has made us realize, but we had to, a lot of money had to be earmarked for development, for education, for school building, for building the border. So healthcare is important, but money होना मांगता है ना. पैसा shortage है हमारा ना. So
Right, right. So coming back to our topic for today, because आपने already इतना हमें IVF के बारे में बताया, because there's a lot of confusion still with the couples that IVF ही उनको लगता है that is the only treatment. So why don't you guide our couples what exactly the term IVF, the vitro fertilization means?
So basically, as I told you that 70% of people will become pregnant with simple ovulation
Yes,
induction,
yes,
planned relation, laparoscopic surgery, IUI.
right.
So, but after that, those who need IVF, what we do in IVF, we give them injections for 11 days, produce a lot
Okay,
of eggs, and then we give them anesthesia, which is a short GA. Now, in fact, many European countries, they remove the eggs under local. Europeans are very tough people because of the World War One and World War Two. They are very tough, so they can do under local. Indian women will get this thing, but so normally in our country will give general anesthesia, propofol, which is a
right,
very light anesthesia,
right.
and within 10 minutes we can take the eggs out. 10-15 minutes by sonography and needle we can take the eggs out. But then that we take the husband's sperm and we process the sperm, and the best quality sperm on normally 100,000 sperm we inseminate the egg with and keep them in the incubator. The sperm fertilizes the egg, and
Okay,
after 2 days, 4 cell embryos are formed. If you keep them for 3 days, 8 cell embryos keeps on growing. after 2 days of fertilization, it is 4 cell. After 3 days, it is 8 cell. After 5 days, it becomes 150 cell. It is called a blastocyst.
Okay.
So normally on day 2 or day 3, which is a 8 cell stage, or a day 5, which is a blastocyst stage, we take 1 or 2 good embryos and put them back into the womb and from below. And the remaining embryos, we freeze them, extra embryos, and we put them and store them in liquid nitrogen. Normally, liquid nitrogen temperature is minus 196 degrees centigrade. You know, the temperature of ice is 0 degrees.
0 degree.
Imagine if we keep them at minus 196 below the ice temperature.
Below the ice temperature, right?
Okay, so there we can store them for 100 years.
Oh,
So long as you maintain the liquid nitrogen. See what happens if
right.
the liquid nitrogen evaporates at 1 liter a day. So when the COVID was there, or when there was a massive flood in uh, uh, Louisiana, they had to airlift the containers. You know, the U.S. Army came and the helicopters airlifted the liquid nitrogen containers. Otherwise, all the embryos would have died. So similarly, when we had COVID, all our liquid nitrogen plants were under pressure. We had to really, we were under a lot of pressure because every week we have to, top up our liquid nitrogen containers. Otherwise, our embryos would have died, our eggs would have died, our sperms would have died. So it's a big responsibility. We in our group
Right.
we have got 8 centers of IVF. I have got 34 containers. They are like my children, more than 50 to
Definitely.
100,000 I've lost. They're all sitting there. In the first thing, if there's a problem, I say, "अरे, वो बराबर है ना, ठीक है ना, वो भरा हुआ है ना." Every
Correct.
week,
Correct.
all the 34 containers are topped up every week. We
Right.
top them up. So these are so extra embryos are kept. So if suppose the first cycle fails, then we can take the frozen embryos and try for a pregnancy.
Try
If
again.
the first
Right.
cycle is successful, then we can freeze them and wait for after 4 years. Patient will come back and say, "Doctor, can I have my second baby? You have frozen it, so we can give the
Okay.
second baby." I had a patient from United States who from India who in Delhi unit we had done our IVF. First she became pregnant, delivered, then they went to USA. For
Okay.
there they did 2 IVFs, but they failed in USA. After 9 years they came back to India. I had still kept 3 embryos frozen. So those 3 embryos we took out and gave them a second child.
Right.
This is what is all India about. Indian medicine is very
Yes.
good.
Yes.
But we
Definitely.
are respectful. We are respectful. We respect that whatever we learned from the Western people are very innovative. They are research minded. But because they have the resources. But once they invent,
Sir, I think your phone went on the mute mode. We can't hear you. I think there's some technical glitch. Please stay tuned. So, sir, can you hear us? I think there is some technical glitch from Dr. Pai's end. So I would request all our mothers, if you have any question related to IVF, related to fertility, please share it in your comment box. We'll be taking one by one. So I will invite again. So, mommies, can you all hear me?
hi,
Yeah.
hello. The
I think there
WhatsApp,
was
I
some
had shut
network
down everything,
glitch.
but the WhatsApp phone call came.
Not a issue, not a
So
issue,
I
sir.
shut down
Nothing
the WhatsApp now.
happening.
This
That's
is,
lucky. So
tell me.
coming back to our
So
IVF
I was
discussion.
telling you the
Yes.
IVF part. So we take the eggs out, fertilize, make the embryo, and put it back on day 2, day 3, day 5, whichever
Right.
day we want to select. Remaining extra embryos, we freeze them for the future. This
Right.
is the IVF. In some people, when the semen count is very low or
Mm-hmm.
the sperm is very abnormal, then we can't do IVF. If suppose we don't have that many sperms to fertilize the egg, then in that case, we take one sperm and inject it into the egg with a
Okay.
machine. It is called a micro manipulator. I got the third micro manipulator in India in 1996, and it's
Okay.
called, the procedure is called ICSI, intracytoplasmic sperm injection. So normal IVF, we take the eggs out and put 1 lakh sperms, and one of the sperm fertilizes the egg. In ICSI, it is the same, but instead of the sperm fertilizing, we jabardasti pick up a sperm and inject it into the egg.
Okay.
So the fertilization technique is different. But now what has happened is, in the normal IVF, many times the patients, they may not, the eggs may not fertilize. So many people in the world, they do ICSI directly even if the count is normal. See, normally you would do IVF first in those patients who fail to fertilize. Then in the next cycle you may do ICSI. But in our country or many of the countries, the spending of the money is done by the patient, so they can't
Right.
afford that. So they say, doctor, you do the best in the first cycle. So many of us, even if the counts are normal, will do ICSI
Right. Right. So, sir,
technically.
even in IVF treatment, there are some stages. So, I guess there are 5 stages of IVF. So, can you
So
explain those
basically,
stages of
the
IVF?
no, basically so what I told you, that we stimulate the patient. So we have to give them
Right.
injection for 11 days. Then we have to
Okay.
admit them and we have to take the eggs out. Okay, that's the
Okay.
then we have to fertilize the eggs either by standard IVF technique or ICSI technique. Then we
Right.
have to take the embryos, and the best two embryos. You can't put, suppose there are 10 eggs and we have 8 embryos. You can't put all the 8 back, na. Normally you put 2 back. Nowadays, if a patient is younger than 35 and she is first timer and everything is good, then many of us are putting only one embryo back. Because
Right.
even if you put two embryo back, nearly 30% of these patients who become pregnant, they may have twins. And if you have twin pregnancy, there are a lot of problems. You can have preterm birth, children have problems, and also abroad, in many countries, there is now a law. You can't put more than one. If the
Okay.
patient is less than 35 and she's very good chance of pregnancy, only one embryo you can put at a time. Remaining you have to freeze. So first time if she fails, then you can go again, and because if they have twins and all abroad, they are spending, government is spending for them. So one child in the incubator, it will cost them 100,000 euros. So this
Right.
too much for them. So they say, better you, doctor, you put one at a time, one embryo at a time. So because of
One.
that, what has happened
Right.
is that there are new techniques that have come in where you can identify. So suppose there are 5 embryos, 5 are there, and you have to take one only and put. Then you need to have a technique which will tell you which is the best one to put,
Okay.
so that you can
So,
put the
and
best one. Because if you put only one, the pregnancy rate will go down a bit. So normally if you put two,
right.
pregnancy rate will be higher. But can you put the identify the best one and put? So now this is called embryo selection technique, which we have got. So we have an embryoscope where it can take the photographs of the embryos every 15 minutes. It's called time lapse. So at the end of when we are about to transfer the embryo back, we can look at the whole video of the time lapse, and we can select, oh, this is the best embryo to transfer back. So,
Right.
or there's another technique which we have just introduced last year. It is called ERICA. So in ERICA, we take
Okay.
the photo of the blastocyst and we
Right.
export it to a server in Mexico. There's my friend in Mexico, Dr. Badiola. He has got hundreds and hundreds of images. So the artificial intelligence analyzes the photograph, and the photo, like if you see with your naked eye, you may have only 5 parameters. The
Okay.
artificial image can analyze 10,000 parameters,
Okay.
and they can tell you, okay, so if you take photograph of 4 embryos and export them, the computer within 2 minutes tells you which is the best embryo to transfer. So that's another technique where we can do the testing, is called pre-implantation genetic analysis. So we can take a biopsy of the embryo and do genetic testing and tell, okay, this is the best embryo to do. But that's a more costly technique, and we use it normally in patients who have failed 2 times before, or who have had recurrent pregnancy loss. And new technique I've got, just yesterday I got the publication. I'm so happy. So this is a new technique where we can take the DNA, which is, the embryo, there is a leakage of DNA into the surrounding media. So now you can take the DNA and amplify the DNA and analyze the embryo without touching the embryo. And the first baby born from that technique, of course, it's already there abroad, but I had got it first time in India, and we have just done the publication yesterday only of that
Right.
technique. So these are all embryo selection techniques. So the future now is that put only one at a time.
Yes.
Remaining you freeze. So you put one, you become pregnant, great. If you don't become pregnant, take the next one again after 2 months, again put. If you don't become pregnant, again take one more and put. So one at a time. So you avoid multiple. See, multiple pregnancy is not a good thing.
Okay.
Children who are born preterm, they can have deafness, they can have eye damage, they can have a lot of complications. So everywhere in the world, no one is, they are all against. Only in India they still have photograph it too and all, but that is not encouraged. Multiple
Right.
pregnancy is a failure of IVF treatment.
So there's
We
this
have failed.
question, sir.
We have become. We have given them pregnancy. Imagine giving two children to a mother. How traumatic it is, na? She has to take care of two kids at the same time. It's not easy, and plus again complications. So see, in the olden days when we started IVF, we wanted to give pregnancy. Fair enough.
Okay.
That time is to put three embryos. Now the time has come to evolve. We have to refine ourselves. Just like we had the
Right.
radio, then we had the television, then we had the mobile. Now we have the OTT platform. We are evolving. Similarly, in IVF, we are now evolving. Now the
Right.
time has come only to put one embryo, and we have to use technology like artificial intelligence, genetic testing to select the best embryo for transfer, so we can give the same pregnancy rate which we would have got with two embryos by transferring the single embryo. At the same time, because we have transferred one embryo, we don't have multiple problem. Of course, sometimes that's the funny thing. Even if you transfer one, that can divide into two, and you can still
Oh,
get twins. But that's a,
yeah, because I also read that the only side effect of IVF is getting more than one
yeah. But
because it leads to a lot
that's
of
very rare.
complications.
That's very rare now because we don't put like
Okay.
I when they are young and all. I tell them listen, but it's very funny. I just to end this thing. I was telling someone about 1 year back. I said, Ari, I got the new technique now. Artificial intelligence, only one. She said, Doctor, no, I want two children at a time. What are you saying? One, I want two. मैं बोला बाबा ये इंडिया है ये इंडिया है इसको कुछ हम एक्सप्लेन
Right.
नहीं कर सकते इंडिया को.
So there is this mother, sir. She's asking, can we try IVF if fibroid is not inside the cavity?
Yeah. So if
Yeah.
the fibroid is not inside the cavity, you can try IVF. So normally, so when a patient comes like this to me, and I say, listen, there is a possibility that the fibroid may be the cause of the infertility. But yes, if you look at the international literature, the fibroid is not pushing the cavity, then it doesn't. So you can try one cycle. If you
Right.
become pregnant, great. If you don't, before the next cycle, we'll remove it and put it.
Okay.
So there has to be some kind of middle path, and they are
Okay.
happy with that. So they are
They're
okay.
happy.
There are a lot of so they are okay with that explanation.
Right. Right. Okay, sir. So moving on, even when there are so many techniques around, there are so many treatments around, still we have a term called as unexplained infertility. What does that mean? And does IUI and IVF solve that issue?
So unexplained infertility is when everything is normal. Like these patients, if you leave them alone, they will anyway become pregnant after 10, 11 years. ऐसा नहीं कि नहीं होते. But then the right time of pregnancy is also important. Na? What is the point of becoming pregnant after 11 years of marriage? So we in these patients also we tend to do IVF with them, and they become
Okay.
pregnant. So we try the IUI cycles, and if they don't become pregnant, then we go for the IVF part, and they achieve pregnancy with that. So unexplained infertility, and many times we're now doing micro injection ICSI also because there may be a sperm factor also. We don't know. See, there are a lot of receptor. Like at the cellular level, there are a lot of things which we are not yet in the
Right.
know, but it doesn't matter. We just bypass everything. egg निकालो, sperm लो, inject करो और खत्म कर दो. So you just bypass everything. The you don't have to go into the details of it. So
Okay.
like it's a more faster method. Okay, we tried for 1 2 years. It's not succeeding. Let's go 5 years. So having said that, as I told you, I am a very conservative guy, so I don't like to do IVF right at the beginning. I'll do my traditional. So I'm mentally happy कि अच्छा I did 2 3 IUI cycles. I have not jumped the gun. You know, because IVF is mentally, financially, emotionally, and physically very traumatic. It's not an easy thing. So,
Yes.
you do all these things, give them the injection, they take the eggs out, make the embryos, you put them back, and they don't become pregnant, they get very traumatized. So, we should not look at it in a casual manner. It is the last step. I told you, like bypass, it is the last step.
Last.
I don't like to say, अच्छा हाँ चलो अभी हम IVF करते. It's not मजाक नहीं है वो. Every time the
Right.
patient doesn't become pregnant, you traumatize her tremendously. And that's why I
Yes.
always tell them, listen, don't try 3 4 terms is good enough. But beyond that, you can always adopt a kid. What's the big deal? Or you can do a third party option like an egg
Right.
donation. So there should not be desperation नहीं होना मांगते. Some people get very desperate, but that should not happen. Of course, when we are not in that boat. See, when we have our own kids and all, we don't understand that need which they have.
So there is this mother who's asking us, do you use the latest time-lapse technology of embryo selection in all the cases?
No, no, no. I don't use it in everyone, but I use it for my failure. I get lot of failure patients. All ऐसा नहीं that all of my patients become pregnant first time. मेरे भी patient, recently it was a very funny. One of my assistant phoned me and said कि सर वो अपने एक पेशेंट है ना 4 फेलियर हो गया और वो अभी प्रेग्नेंट हो के डिलीवर होगी तो शी हैड फोन टू से थैंक यू टू यू आई said अच्छा मैं बोला अच्छा किधर फेल होगी वो मेरे को लगा बाहर फेल मैंने अपने पास ही 3 पॉइंट फेल हो गई थी अपन बट द पेशेंट वाज सो नाइस दैट शी हैड फेथ इन मी सी व्हेन
Right.
दे फेल ना so I always tell my patient, listen, you must be patient and you must have faith in me. You can't because every time they fail, not for them to come again to the same doctor, it
It's
needs a
difficult.
lot of faith in the
Yes,
doctor.
yes, yes.
Hana, just
Definitely,
imagine, na,
definitely.
it is the only line. I call it the worst line in medicine. Sometimes I feel I should have been a cardiac surgeon. इतनी एकदम easy था खोलने का वो ब्लॉक है वो जोड़ने का बड़ी बात क्या है आईवीएफ में कितना है देखो अंडा निकालो स्पर्म लो बच्चा बनाओ यूट्रस में डालो 9 महीने के बाद डिलीवरी करो और सक्सेस रेट इज 35%. So if you look at the live birth rate, it is 1 in 3. In United States last year in 2019, 350,000 cycles of IVF took place and 77,000 births were there. Like I'm talking about live birth because here in India कुछ भी बोलते लोग तो live birth rate is 1 in 3. Every time you do 3 patients, live birth. अपने को pregnancy से कुछ मतलब है क्या बच्चा होना
Right,
मांगते हैं ना हाथ में.
right,
So
right,
that live birth rate is 1 in 3, and in 3 attempts, 90%, 80 to 70 to 90% people become pregnant in 3 attempts. It is very important to counsel the patient. Patients need to know that, and that's why in the new ART bill, which is coming in the parliament, they have put that the counseling is a must. And the second clause that has been put in the bill is that the counselor has to be not employed by the IVF unit. तो हम लोग की बोलेंगे अच्छा अच्छा सब ठीक है ऐसा नहीं वो बाहर का काउंसलर होना मांगता है सो ही विल टेल द पेशेंट प्रॉपरली देखो भाई ये 3 करेंगे ना 3 पेशेंट करेंगे ना हर टाइम तो एक को बच्चा रहता है ओके
right, right, right.
हाँ गलत फहमी नहीं होना मांगता है तो बहुत बिकॉज मिसलीड नहीं होना मांगता है पेशेंट बिकॉज ट्रॉमाटाइज हो जाता है
Right.
दे गेट वेरी अपसेट इट्स अ
Yes,
नॉट
emotionally
एंड
it is very disturbing.
Yeah, and I always tell my patient that I also get upset. See, अभी patient आके बोलेगा, sir pregnancy नहीं हुआ, तो I also get upset. So that also I tell the patient. See, if you become pregnant, you become happy, I become happy. If you don't become pregnant, you become unhappy. But I also have done the job, na, and I failed, na.
Yes,
So I also get traumatized. So it's
definitely.
not a it's a most difficult line of medicine all the lines are the like cosmetic surgery and IVF. Because अच्छा अभी नोज बना है अपने अच्छा नहीं दिखा तो योर यू से हे डॉक्टर ने हमें खत्म कर दिया मेरे को. सिमिलरली आईवीएफ में मैं अभी बोलेगा आपको 30%, आपको कुछ मतलब है क्या उससे? यू आर सेइंग नो डॉक्टर, यू फॉर मी इट इज इधर हाँ या ना, इट इज
Right.
0% और 100% ना, बीच में का क्या है? So that is a problem. So it's a very difficult line of medicine, and that's why it's a challenging line also. And I do get a lot of these patients who are difficult also, because being an old man now, I'm 30 years into IVF. 1990 I started IVF, so I do get a lot of difficult patients. So मैं always बोलता रहे बाबा simple patient क्यों नहीं आता है? सबका एमएच अच्छा असिस्टेंट में से अच्छा डॉक्टर ये इसका एमएच 0.7 है, बोला 0.7, कोई इसका 0.3 एमएच है. I say, where are the 2.5 mh? Where have they gone? Because they go to the local people and they become pregnant. Na, see, IVF, when I started IVF, there were only 10 of us in 1990. Today, there are 3,500 units.
Right.
So they go to their local. After that, if they fail, then they think, अरे आजा वो जरा old man है उधर जाते हैं, या कोई बोलेगा हम इधर जाते हैं डॉक्टर इंदिरा हिंदुजा. I mean, there are seniors like me who are there for in the line, so they come to us. But it's a why would someone in Indore come to you when there are IVF units in Indore? They do that. Most of them become pregnant. Some of them who don't, they think that Bombay is maybe better. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है इंदौर और बॉम्बे बेटर है, कौन है, सब और same. But they come to us, and so it's a, if you do it again and again and again, there is the pregnancy. The pregnancy is in the repetition. So the biggest IVF center in the world is there in United States. It's called Shady Grove IVF Center. We have a money back scheme. So they say you pay money upfront for 6 cycles. If you don't become pregnant, you get the money back. So that is because in the 6 cycles, most of them achieve pregnancy.
Okay.
So it's not the money, but in our country we can't do that. Ethically, it is not allowed. But in United States, it's a free market economy. You can do anything. But so they give the money back, and the patient say, अच्छा अरे पैसा तो वापस मिलने वाला ही है, बच्चा नहीं हुआ तो चलो दे देते हैं. And उधर ही, because they go again, they are already given the money, so they keep on going, and in the
Right.
repetition they get the pregnancy.
Right. They keep trying, and then they
See, in
succeed.
our country क्या होता है ना, 2 साइकिल, अरे 2 साइकिल सर, अभी पैसा भी नहीं, अभी आप 2 साइकिल, ये डॉक्टर ठीक है ना? कोई बोलेगा अरे कौन डॉक्टर पाई, इसको क्या आता है मालूम ही नहीं, कभी सुना भी नहीं नाम.
But sir,
So
in
that
general,
is,
how many cycles of IVF कोई भी patients can go through at
you can,
maximum?
I feel that 4-5 cycles you can go. I tell them 3-4 cycles, but after 2 cycles we also start getting tense stuff.
Right.
It's a lot of tension. Na? Patients have spent money. We are also under pressure. A lot of pressure is there.
Okay.
Sometimes, I tell them, 4 cycle hua, I say, just change the doctor. Just go to some other doctor. You will become pregnant. It's just not written in this thing. But having said that, as the cycles they go on increasing, I give them a lot of discount also. It's like they have become like a family member.
Of course, sir.
है ना? So
Also,
for us, it's like, it's no longer like ऐसा इसके हम तो desperate होते हैं कि अभी इसको pregnant कैसा करें.
so you
It's a
don't only
real.
treat the patient, आप उससे emotionally भी काफी connect हो जाते हैं.
हाँ, तो वो मैंने एंड
That is the
पेशेंट,
reason we call you the
अपना
best.
देश में ना बहुत ही गरीबी है यार,
So that
बहुत
is the
पैसे.
reason we always call you the best IVF doctor, and that is where your name comes, because it's not only about the treatment, but mothers who go through IVF, the family who go through that treatment, उनका emotional level भी बहुत low हो जाता है, and आप उसको maintain करके रखते हैं. So that is
Yeah,
the
and
reason people come back to you.
but I feel that our country is very poor, and I would like to. That's why we have started a new center in Dadar. If the income is less than 2.5 lakh rupees a year, I am giving 40% discount, 70-80,000 rupees with medicine. I am doing IVF because there are so many
That's
poor
really
people in
nice.
the world. Means I could have done that what that card is there na. But that is 60,000 rupees का income होएगा per year. अभी 60,000 में क्या? That's why I put a cutoff of 2.5 lakh. I said if the family income is less than 2.5 lakh a year, I will give 40% discount. Now, how do you give a 40% discount? Tell me. How do you do it? By sacrificing your income.
Pricing, right.
You have to sacrifice your income, and
Yes.
this is my slogan. I am becoming president of the Federation of Gynec Societies of India next year, Foxy president.
Yes. Yes.
India, there are two Indias. One is a well-off India. About 200 million people are there. The second India is 1.1 billion people. They are very poor. We have to give them everything free of charge. We have to sacrifice ourselves. This is what I feel, that like when I was in KEM hospital, my dad was a professor in KEM. I had got totally free education. 3,000 rupees I had to pay the KEM hospital, as they were my fees, and the government gave us 3,000 scholarship also. So we were zero. At zero
Right.
cost, I got my education. Whatever this quote, everything is because of the government. I'm totally obliged to the state.
Definitely.
I have to give back, because if whatever I am today, I would never have been if the state had not helped me. So I'm
Yes.
so obligated to the state. I'm totally indebted. So we have to, all doctors. So I always say we have to have it's a binary function. एक है 200 million, अब उनको decent charge करो.
Right.
और एक है 1.1 billion, उनको तो आप free में करो.
Right.
There is no other alternative. They are too poor.
Right. Sir. So moving on with the evening, as I've already introduced that you have got so many different techniques in India, including egg freezing. So why don't you tell something about that? That what is the right age for a woman to freeze the eggs, and what are the preparation that is required before freezing the egg?
So the egg freezing, it is called fertility preservation. You do it for three different things. One, you do it for lifestyle purpose. The second indication is patients of endometriosis, especially young women with endometriosis. When you are removing the endometrioma, some of them they have large endometriomas. Before marriage also they have to remove them. So when you are removing, you may reduce the ovarian reserve also. So that time also you can, prior to the removing of the endometriomas, you can do egg freezing and then go in and remove the endometrioma, because the reserve will fall down. And the third indication is young women or women less than 35 who have cancer. So the commonest cancer in India is breast cancer. And when the breast is removed for cancer, then they get chemo or sometimes radiation therapy. So
Right.
their ovaries get damaged. So before that, we can freeze the eggs also. So that's called fertility preservation for prior to cancer. So these are the three main areas: lifestyle, and this and this. So endometriosis and cancer. Then the commonest cancers are the breast cancer, followed by Hodgkin's lymphoma, non-Hodgkin, and then the remaining cancers are there. But these are the three common cancers for which we freeze. So we freeze the eggs. So we give them same like IVF. You give them the injection for 11 days. You take the eggs out and you freeze them, and you can maintain them. So normally now freezing may the biggest, see, I brought the egg freezing technology into India in 2007. There were two other colleagues, of course me and my colleague Dr. Nandita Palchekar, who was my business partner. we
Right.
we were there in Mumbai. At the same time there was Muhammad Ashraf group in Kerala, and there was another Ramaraju group in Vizag. All of us started in 2007, and I have frozen lot of celebrities, lot of actresses, lot of doctors, lawyers, because egg freezing is a very high level lifestyle concept. People who can afford it only can do it. Though
Okay.
nowadays I am thinking of even offering it to younger other women who can't afford it. So I'm thinking how to do it at a lower cost, because the challenge is to give that high technology, at low cost to people who need it.
Right.
That's what I get excited about. So anyway, coming back, so we do the freezing of the eggs and we store them in liquid nitrogen. Now the new technology that I brought in egg freezing is that there is a chromosome spindle.
Okay.
So after you take the eggs out, after 2 hours of taking the eggs out, you freeze them, 2 to 3 hours. But if you can see the spindle, that the spindle has formed, and then you freeze the egg, their recovery is very good. And there's a new technology. First time in India, I installed it 2 years back. It's called spindle check. So you can actually
Yes.
see the chromosome spindle, and then we freeze the eggs. And whenever we thaw them also, if you thaw them after 2 hours, the spindle reforms. if you fertilize the egg after the spindle reforms, you get very good outcome. So the spindle check technology we introduced into India, very few units in the country have got it, but I'm sure other colleagues of mine will slowly buy the technology. And the other technology which we have just in on Friday, I'm installing it. As I tell
Okay.
you this, and that is the artificial intelligence. Because suppose you come to me and I take 9 eggs out of you. Now I have to use those 9 eggs 10 years later. After you get married, you'll come and say, "Doctor, now I want the child." So,
Right.
but if the eggs were bad, then what? So now with the new AI technology which we have, you can take the photo and the computer tells you this egg is good or bad, and
Right.
predicts whether it will become an embryo or not. So suppose you have 9 eggs and the computer says no, out of these nine, only three are good, six are bad. You can do one more cycle of freezing.
Okay. So it's not just
So
once. It can be done twice or maybe
yeah,
thrice.
so you can do it. So the normally we were told that 12 to 14 eggs are needed at least. So you can give dabaki injection. Sometimes on an average you get 7, 8 eggs. Sometimes you get 10, 12 also. But you have to be careful also. You can't go out of control. So many times you may have to do 2 cycles also.
Okay. So,
But
sir, the
the
spindle
but
test that you're
the
talking about, the spindle test that you're talking about, is it for all the cases or just for the some of the selective cases?
no, I use spindle check for all my egg freezing cases.
Everyone who wants to do egg
Yeah,
freezing.
now
Okay.
because I've got it, na, so I use it.
Right.
And but so this is the problem. The technology keeps on evolving all the time. But I had got a spindle view technology in 2006, but the machine is still there in the cupboard. It was costing me 16 lakhs, but it didn't work well. So I just down junked it. It's still in the cupboard. It's a new variant, Delta
Okay.
variant. So this variant is deadly. You can see spindle in every egg. Fantastic technology by Japanese, Russian, Germans, Israelis are way out in science, in biological sciences, and you look at space, you look at engineering, all the American scientists, all are from there, and Indians also, Indian scientists, all Chinese scientists. it's a but these races have got tremendous intelligence.
Definitely, definitely. Don't worry, sir. Sooner or later, we'll also be there.
No, no, yeah,
People like
I
you
told you, na,
all
Indians are
wanting.
very important. Indians are there
Yes,
everywhere.
डेफिनेटली डेफिनेटली और सर आपके जैसे अगर डॉक्टर्स हुए जो हर वक्त खुद को इवॉल्व कर रहे हैं नई टेक्निक्स ला रहे हैं ट्राइंग टू हेल्प एवरीवन राइट फ्रॉम पुअर टू द रिच वंस once we one after a few years we'll also be there.
Yeah. No, no, we are already there. Only thing is our number is the one that is weakens us.
Yes.
Na? It's a power also, but it is too much number. So we have to be more proactive, and not only so life is a balance. So those who don't have children, we should help them to have kids. Those who have kids, we should tell them to keep it down. So there
Right,
should be a
right.
balance in life, and I think that will ultimately come with education and communication. Yesterday only I was on TV, I was listening to them. They said that empowering of women have come through a lot of media also. See, today the women are at the forefront because the media has empowered them.
Definitely, sir. So, as we are in our International Breastfeeding Week, I will definitely like to have the opportunity to touch this topic breastfeeding after IVF. A recent Australian study said that breastfeeding after IVF is a little difficult than with the mothers who have conceived it normally. So there are few of the questions which I have jotted down and I would like to take it one by one. And if any of the mothers here want to know anything related to breastfeeding, please feel free to use your comment box. We'll take your questions one by one. So coming up to first one, sir, please help us understand how does IVF treatment affects the breastfeeding?
Miss, we don't have any major studies. Some sporadic studies must be there, but I have not found. Only thing is that a lot of time na, in IVF we do IVF on older women also.
Okay.
So then in older women there may be some kind of this thing, but if you properly take care of them in their early phase, and make them put the child to the breast and make them suckle it, even if the breast is not producing milk. Once that suckling reflex is established, they'll ultimately start feeding. So
Okay.
it's not that they don't. Most of the my patient at least they are quite okay with the breastfeeding after the delivery. There's no
After that,
problem.
there's no problem.
But there is a certain group of people which are there normally also. Normally considered women also. Certain women are there, they just can't. Just yesterday I had a SMS from one of my friends in Delhi. She just delivered. But there, she's a older. Again, she's a older woman. So I think
Right.
older women may have some kind of problem. But I think if the proper support is given to them in the antenatal, postnatal care, they would. There's no problem at all.
Right, right. Sir, there's something called as prolactin level. Does this affect breastfeeding?
Yeah, means prolactin is necessary for the breast to start secreting the breast milk. So the levels, and if the levels are down, you can give them some medicines to improve the prolactin levels and hormones. You can also give them some herbal medicines also to improve their levels to so that they can be. They are called galactogogues. So
Yes.
these are given to stimulate the breastfeeding. You can
Right,
do that.
right. So before I move on with the breastfeeding, there is a very important and a very interesting question a mother has asked. What are the techniques that you perform in your IVF cases that makes it different from other IVF centers?
It's not like that. See, there is something called add-ons. So any add-on you name it, I have got it. So that there is a lot of controversy on add-ons. The Human Fertilization Embryo Authority, which is in England, has given a color system to these add-ons. Then they have got green color, orange color, and red. Most of the add-on they are given red color. They are useless. So so I so these are all add-on. Embryoscope, spindle check, IMSI, all these are add-ons. They are if what is the traditional thinking is that if you do repeated standard IVF cycles, most people will become pregnant. It's just that you need to do it repeatedly. That's all. But what happens is after 2-3 failures, people all start getting hyper.
So
Doctors
people
get
have to
hyper,
keep, you have to
patient get
keep your
hyper. So you need
patience.
the add-ons. So I normally use the add-ons. Now I do get pregnancies. Now whether I get pregnancies because anyway they would have got pregnant or whether I get it because of the add-on, I don't know. But normally it is I ethically don't like to do any add-on giri unless 2 cycles fail. But अभी क्या होता है ना पेशेंट से नहीं डॉक्टर अब 2 साइकिल क्या पागल है क्या डॉक्टर अब जो करना है वो करो. So
Right,
at
right,
some time now we start now the it gets blurred. You start doing things more often
right,
normally, but I still hold on. So I never दो फेलियर के बाद मैं बोलता हूँ देखो अभी 2 हो गया ना अभी मैं ऑल आउट जाऊंगा. बट 2 के पहले आप कुछ बोलो नहीं मेरे को. अब मैं ट्रेडिशनल जो करते हैं ना वो करता हूँ बिकॉज
yes,
नहीं तो क्रिटिसिज्म आएगा कि डॉक्टर चोर है पैसा लेता है सो ये ऐसा ये करता है वो करता है एड ऑन करता है. सो व्हाट इज द एचएफए सेइंग इफ यू डू एड ऑन ना यू शुड नॉट चार्ज देम. अभी यार
okay,
तो मेनी टाइम लाइक एम्ब्रियोस्कोप आई डोंट चार्ज देम. ऐसे अच्छा चलो अपन विल थ्रो इन एन एम्ब्रियोस्कोप फॉर यू और विल थ्रो इन एन इमसी फॉर यू जस्ट फ्री ऑफ चार्ज.
okay,
So it's like an additional add-on to them, but at no additional cost. Because ultimately, if they become pregnant, that is enough. That's a great return for
that's
me
it.
anyway.
Yes, yes. So coming back to our breastfeeding topic, there's something called as progesterone, which is one of the most common medicine used in IVF treatment. Does progesterone suppress lactation?
Yeah, to a certain extent, it may there may be the but the progesterone doesn't because you can give the progesterone only contraception and it doesn't have that much effect on lactation as
Okay,
it is thought of giving. So, but so you can give that in the because you want to prevent them from becoming pregnant again. So you nowadays there are these progesterone injections also available. So that one of the advantages is that it may not affect the lactation so much.
okay. So is there any bad effect of the fertility medicines and it can be transferred to the health of the child via breast milk?
I mean, most of the fertility medicine get excreted, so you don't have to bother much about it. So as soon as the pregnancies are conceived, then So I don't think there's any, and but you have to be careful about antibiotics and all. They can get through the thing. The child may get it, and they may get diarrheas and all that. So you need to be careful, and you need to, whatever medicine you take, you must find out whether they get excreted. Some of the medicine which give you sleep and all that. The child can also get doped and all that. So you have to be very careful, and you must always never feed the child lying down. Always sit up and properly feed the child. Otherwise, you may get go to sleep while feeding the child, and you may go on to the child and may kind of create a pressure on the breathing and all that. So you have to be very
Right.
careful on that.
Right. So the next one is what
And
can I?
here, now that we are here, the COVID vaccine you can take in during lactation also.
Yes. So I was
So
about
that
to
is,
come with the next two
yeah.
questions that whether COVID
Okay.
vaccine can be taken. But no, please go ahead, sir. Can
So
the
no.
vaccine
So
is the
you can. So
vaccine
there are
safe?
three types of vaccine. We have the
Right.
RNA vaccine, then we have the Covishield, and we have the Covaxin also. All
Right.
of them can be taken during lactation nowadays. So you can just take the first shot, and then the second shot. It doesn't. You don't have to stop lactating and all that. So you can keep on doing your breastfeeding and take the shot. Even
Can a
during
mother
pregnancy, you
can a
can take the
mother
shot.
take these during pregnancy, especially when
Better
she
to
has
take.
taken,
Better to take in the pregnancy, because that will give you protection for lactation as well, for to
even
the
if she
child.
has
So
gone through IVF treatment?
yeah. There's no problem.
There's
The
no problem.
but I would suggest that as much as possible, the first 3 months, because we are not sure of the report, though there are no adverse effects in the first, but in the first 8 weeks, the child is forming all the organs. So you
Right.
must avoid exposure to any medicine or vaccine as much as possible in the first 2-3 months of pregnancy. So if at all you have to take the vaccine, better to take it in the second or third trimester.
Okay. Perfectly
But
fine.
you can take it in the first as well. So there's nothing to prevent you from doing it. If at all you have got comorbidities, you are obese, you have got diabetes, hypertension, then it is better to take the vaccine as soon as you can take it.
You can take it. Right. Right. So, sir, is there any particular diet or anything which a mother can take, a IVF mother can take to support postpartum and breastfeeding stage?
No, the diets are, you anyway need to have supplement, calcium, iron supplements are very necessary. High but at the same time you must. So I always tell them that you should have a Mediterranean diet. So that will
Okay.
keep your weight down also. Otherwise, you can become very obese and all that. So
Right.
a good Mediterranean diet with a good protein supplementation, omega-3 fatty acids. If you are not a non-vegetarian, then a protein supplement is necessary. And so, and a good calcium, iron supplementation is important. Even during lactation, you need more of that supplements.
So, sir, post your IVF treatment, is there anything in the diet that a mother needs to avoid?
No, so anyway, I tell them, see, the BMI is very important. So in IVF treatment, when we are doing the treatment, I always tell them, and I calculate a BMI. BMI is body mass index, that is weight in kilogram divided by height in meter square. So your
Yes.
body mass index, it should be around 19 to 24. That's the ideal BMI. So many of the Indians are more than 30, 32, because their height is not that high. They're not that tall and all. So you have to reduce your weight to get the BMI into ideal, because if you have a good BMI, your pregnancy chance also increases. And when you become pregnant, you don't have complications also. Like you may have diabetes in pregnancy, hypertension in pregnancy, obesity itself can cause a lot of, suppose you have even a cesarean or a episiotomy, it can get infected. So all these issues are there with a high BMI before pregnancy and after pregnancy and
After.
during delivery also. So it's very important to maintain your BMI, and that is why you need a Mediterranean diet. And I always tell people that the three whites you should avoid. One is the maida, second is the salt, and third is the sugar. And so your calorie intake should be there. The high glycemic index
Right.
food should be avoided. Green leafy vegetables you should take. Diet supplementation should be there. Exercise of 30 to 45 minutes a day for 5 days. Brisk walking, not too fast. and then a good meditation and yoga and breathing exercises, avoid smoking, alcohol, etc. So this will be a good lifestyle for not only for you to get pregnant, but once you become pregnant, also for your child, and it can continue during lactation as well.
Right. So, as we are moving towards the end of our evening, I'm sure all your questions have been answered, and the way Sir has guided us today for IVF related to breastfeeding, the treatments. Thank you so much, Sir, for
Thank you.
yes, for
Thank you.
taking out time from your busy schedule and for such an enlightening session. And in the end, I will definitely like to remind all my viewers and request them not to forget like, share, and comment on our campaign for for normalizing breastfeeding. It's your baby and your right to breastfeed wherever and whenever you want. So regardless of how, there are some mothers who gets their breastfeed very easily. There are some who fight for that, but that is okay. And remember, it is absolutely normal. So whether you are an IVF mother or a normal mother, please do exclusive breastfeeding. That is best for your child. Once again, thank you so much,
Breast is
Dr.
best.
Rishikesh. Yes. Thank you so much, Dr.
Yeah.
Rishikesh Pai, for coming today to our platform. There are people,
Thank you very much,
yes, there
and
are
I'm
mothers
really
saying thank
appreciate.
you continuously. Mothers are saying thank you to you. Definitely, it was a
Thank you,
very good
thank you,
session. Thank you so much, sir. See you all tomorrow
thank
at
you.
6 p.m. with our next expert, nutritionist Supriya
Bye,
Arun. Yes, bye, sir. Thank you so much.
bye,
Thank you,
bye, bye.
mamas.
Thank you. Bye.